What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. I have Tierra Lane with us. She's with Lane and Co. Home Group at Red One Realty. Tierra, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on here and just kind of share your real estate journey.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
And I know we've had to, due to me, reschedule this. um, but that's okay. That's what we do as agents. But no, thank you so much for coming on. And I know we've been social media. I would say social media friends for some time, and we really haven't ever really connected before. So the Tell Me More podcast is just all about bringing on successful people in our industry, and just showing others that there's many ways to getting into the industry. There's many ways of finding success in this industry. And I just love, highlighting you and your journey and just talking about kind of what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that.
So I always like starting with the past, growing up. What was life like? You know, was entrepreneurship and things like that around. Kind of give me a rundown of growing up through your high school years.
So I'm originally from Warren, Ohio. I'm the youngest of four. Um, I would say growing up, entrepreneurship was never something that was introduced to me. Like, didn't really know anyone around me. Like, both of my parents always worked a job for someone else. So I didn't really have access to that. And I just thought, going through high school and things like that, you just get out of school, you go to college, and then you work from there. Like that was like the path. Like no one ever talked to us about it in high school, teachers, counselors. It just wasn't something that was ever presented to us. It wasn't until later on that it became something that I dived into. But I would say leading up to that, I was just on the traditional track. I graduated from high school, Warren G. Harding High School, in 2004. And I went straight to Kent State University after that. I did the local branch, got enrolled into the radiology program there. Um, I got in right away, which most people, it took multiple times. I got in, started like early sophomore year there, found out it was not for me pretty quickly. Like, I like being in the hospital with healthy people is one thing, like they come in for x-rays, but being in there when people are sickly, they are on ventilators and all of that, I'm like, this is not my environment.
I just had Emily Manley on from Emerge, and she went to college originally for nursing, and for her it was the blood. Couldn't do it.
No, I'm like, this is, and then I ended up transferring to Ohio State and graduated from there. So
No, it's so funny because as a fellow Northeast Ohioan,
yeah.
from your area, when people normally ask us, where are you from? We always say, "Oh, Youngstown." But you actually said
Oh,
Warren. You actually said Warren. So I was impressed that you actually went right to the city, because I grew up in Latonia, which is down
mhm.
kind of by Salem and Columbiana and all that, and no one knows where that is. So we always say, "Oh, just south of Youngstown."
Yeah, that's right. So, 15 minutes from you.
so and so you go, college was kind of the path, then join the career field, um get into college, find out that what you originally went for wasn't going to be something that you were passionate about or wanted to do or explore. Come down to Ohio State. What kind of made you come down this way to Ohio State? And
Well, my now husband, him and I had started dating that early. It was like late freshman year, I would say, we started dating. So then I would say early sophomore year, I came down here and I just got exposed to such a bigger area. So you go from going to Kent State Branch, so that's it's near Champion, Ohio.
yeah.
And then the program that I was in was actually in Salem, so that was even more just out there. And then I come to Columbus and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole new world. And then he played football for Ohio State. So I was around all of that. And I'm just like, wow, like these are actually people my age that are doing things. And it just seemed like something I wanted to be a part of. So I transferred. came to Ohio State. I think I had an accounting major. They put me in the Fisher College of Business, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then in the middle of us in our college, because he graduated '04 as well too. We had our daughter, my oldest daughter, Gianna. So that was around 2007. So I took a break from college. I actually went to dental assisting school. That was just like a diploma program, 9 months. I started working briefly for a dental company, transferred over to orthodontics. So I worked in the orthodontics field for about 8 years, putting on braces, doing all the things that involve braces. And then I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. So I went back to school because I'm like, well, I did 3 years of college. I don't want to just leave it. So I graduated from Ohio State in 2011 with my bachelor's in consumer science. So I don't know if I thought I was going to be a teacher from there, but I'm like, I don't want to do any more school. And it would have been, I think, an additional year and a half. So,
We
yeah.
we have too many similarities. I got to tell you this quick funny story about Kent State Salem branch
Yeah.
because both of my grandparents lived in Salem, and my mom and dad went to Salem, and my cousin had this street golf cart race car thing, and my dad took it to the parking lot of the Kent State Salem branch, and I'm driving this thing. I don't even know how old I was when I lived there. I probably would have been, I don't know, 10 years old. We're about the same age,
Yeah.
and I'm just driving this thing, and for whatever reason, I just had one of those instances where my brain wasn't working. I didn't know where the brake was, and I ran up the sidewalk and crashed right into the tennis courts, into the fence there along that parking lot. So same thing. We moved, and then I came down to Ohio State. I started with accounting. People that have watched this show hear me all the time talk about my whole experience at Ohio State with accounting, and it's just so funny. It's kind of when I'm talking to other agents, some of the similarities that we all have or experience, and you don't know. You don't. It's just a small world. So
It is. It's definitely a small world.
so you graduate, and you're kind of in the dental space. Did you do that for a while, or?
So dental altogether was roughly 8 years. So I graduated in 11, in 11, and then we got married a week after I graduated. And then I had my second daughter, Leilani, a year later. So we knew during that time, like because there was almost a 5 year gap between our oldest and our second daughter. And I knew early on that if we would have any more kids, that I was going to stay home, just because childcare in Columbus is literally a mortgage. So I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to go to work just to pay someone else to raise my kids. So
Yeah.
I stayed home for 5 years. During that 5 year span, me and my husband got into flipping houses. He's self-taught. So my husband, Shaun, he started just reading up on stuff, figuring it out. We bought our first property 2016. And shortly from there, I think we might have did 2 houses at that time. And I thought, I saw that we were paying, one of his old teammates was actually selling our houses. And I'm like, well, we need to save that 3%. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just at home, raising kids. I might as well just get my license and I'll just sell our houses. So I'm thinking I might sell 6 houses a year. And little did I know, overnight, I had a full-blown career that I wasn't looking for. Literally was going to be content with selling our houses, but I found out that I know a lot of people and I network pretty well. And now I'm here 6 years later.
How did you guys, I guess, find, like, was real estate a passion? Like, was it something that you guys were interested in, or were you just
No,
kind of hearing from others that, hey, this may
yeah.
be something to get into?
So me, I'm a socializer. I talk to everybody. My kids are in sports. So I was talking to a soccer dad one day at practice, and he was talking about these houses that they were getting from the auction. So PAJ is a company here. They're based out of Phoenix, Arizona, but they have a couple people that work locally. And so the soccer dad's telling me, yeah, we buy these houses, we flip them, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, my husband needs to be doing that. So here's me, I don't know nothing, but like, he needs to do this. So I get my husband connected with him. Josh Crumley is his name, and at that time they were purchasing several homes from the sheriff's auction.
Hmm.
So at that time, they were wholesaling these houses because PAJ, when they initially started, just to backtrack just a little bit, they were flipping houses. I don't know, probably like 100 or so houses a year between
Wow.
here and Cincinnati. So then they got into the space of just wholesaling these homes. So they would purchase them from the auction. They would add on a wholesaling fee. We purchased directly from them. They also do hard money lending, which we did hard money lending through them for years. So that was kind of like our gold mine for a little bit. So there was a time where we were flipping maybe 2 or 3 houses a month.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was a lot. Again, here's me. I'm like day one real estate agent, and we just go into all these houses that we purchase kind of then. So that's how we got started. It just kind of really, conversation led into this.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I originally, because I graduated from OSU in 2011, and my degree is in sports and leisure studies. So
There you go.
I quickly found that what I was going to be getting paid and doing it, if I was going to sell something, then I was going to be selling something worth. But that was, back then, 2011, that's when HGTV became popular and all those other
Yeah.
things. And I originally got into real estate to learn about flipping, right? And that,
Yeah.
that was the hot thing to do. And I was like, well, if I'm going to flip, then I might as well, learn the sales side. And so it just kind of just compounded from there. And I've done a handful of flips, nothing to what you guys did. You guys, just it sounds like you're just someone that just dives right in and just goes for
Yeah.
it.
We're probably at 50 now within the last 60 years, 60 years, 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so we
We
didn't,
miss we miss the 2015, 2016, 2017 days when it was a little bit easier to find them.
yeah, now it's like it's literally a needle in a haystack, but
So you get in really with the idea of just handling your own business, your own
yeah,
flips. What year was that? Was that 2016? Like,
that was
was it
2017 that
2017?
that I was actually licensed, March of 2017.
So what did from there when you got into it? I always like to kind of go into doubters, supporters. Obviously, you guys are making a family decision, right? You're coming back into, well, you probably weren't planning it, but coming back into the workforce. I'm sure you guys quickly found out that flipping houses is a little bit more work than usually what it looks like from the outside, that most people don't know about. But making that decision, coming back into the workforce with the kids, and then going into a career that you guys were flipping houses, but as a real estate agent, that is 100% commission based, right? You're only as good as your last sale.
Absolutely.
Can you kind of walk through some of the support, the doubters? What side did you really have?
Well, I would say my husband is my number one supporter. Thankfully, we've positioned ourselves in life to where during my time of staying home, we lived off one income. So even when I started with our flipping houses and then also with me doing just sales on my own, that was kind of like fun money. It's not bill money. This isn't something that's factored to our mortgage and things like that. So there was no pressure for me. I didn't come in here with goals. It was like, whatever I do is just fun money.
Yeah,
Um, so, and then two, what I liked about real estate was I knew that if I was going to do anything, I didn't want to go to a 9 to 5. I want to be the sole provider for my daughters. So I knew that it would have to be something flexible that I can do when my husband's home from work, or a family member can help out.
yeah,
So my mom would help watch the kids. So, with real estate, our prime time is usually evenings and weekends. So that worked out perfectly. So I didn't have to put my daughter in daycare or anything like that. And I think when I got up and running, she was just starting like half a day kindergarten. So I literally would have from, I don't know, 9 to 12 to catch up on anything that I was trying to do. And then outside of that, um, you know, fitting that in. And you'd be surprised. I think it's something that I would encourage moms, because I think for moms, especially ones that do want to maybe stay home or want something not part-time, because real estate is not part-time at all. At least for me, it's not.
yeah.
But as far as physically being away from the home, if you would like to be more of that role in the house, this works out perfect. Because clients, they don't know what your schedule looks like. Half of them are at work anyway. So,
Yeah.
so I would say I had supporters in that realm. Again, my husband, sole supporter, my mom helps out. Um, and then we've just made it happen that way. And I always keep that at the forefront of my mind. I'm never going to do any more that's going to get away of my initial why and my what. And I've been successful up to this point. So I'm just going to keep that in mind going forward.
How did you get to that mindset? I feel like a lot, finding the why I think is a big challenge for a lot of people. And then,
Yeah.
that always being the North Star, and you mentioned the why and the what is nothing gets in the way of that. How did you, I mean, was that just something that you've learned, or was it just how you always were?
I think it's something that I've learned, and it was being home. So you got to think for 5 years, I knew my why. Like my why is raising our daughters, why my husband works, and making sure I'm making our house a home,
Yeah.
cooking, cleaning, doing all of that. So that was always the forefront of my mind. I can do anything, but it has to fit underneath this bubble. And for some people, they don't do that. It's like, this is my work schedule. I'll fit these kids, my husband, and anything else around this. But
Yeah.
for me, it's like, this is where I'm at, whatever I'm going to do. Um, it's going to have to go around there, and then we'll go ahead and do it from there.
It's such a game changer when people get to that level in their business and in their career. It's something that I've always struggled with because when I got into the business, I was a recent college kid.
Yeah.
Um, I was getting married to my first wife. I didn't really have a lot of responsibilities. Like we don't have kid, I don't have kids, and um, I always said, "Hey, I'm available 9 to 9, Monday through Sunday."
Uh-huh.
You just let me know when, right? And like now that I've been in it longer, and some of my rules have changed a little bit. Now my wife, she's now established in her career. Um, that mindset shift of life first, and then design work around your life is a game changer, and it's awesome that you had that going into it.
Oh yeah.
Because I know a lot of people struggle with it,
I
myself
think
included.
Yeah, and I don't want to make this like a woman role, man role thing, because everyone's home runs differently and it's
Sure.
literally what's best for your family dynamic. But in our home, I know for instance, like even when I was working a job, like if one of our kids is sick and the daycare calls and someone's got to go, more than likely it would be me having to go. So I'm like, I don't want to be in a position where I feel like they're like, oh, here she goes, having to take off again because her kid's sick. So it's just like, no, like I'm going to set myself up to where I don't answer to anyone. People are going to know that I work efficiently and that there's quality behind my work, but there's not going to be compromise with it.
Yeah.
So and it's hard. I mean, there's some days where I don't balance that right. I'm not perfect. But I will say that, if it takes me not being at the highest level that maybe I could reach to be more present with my family, I'm willing to take that sacrifice now just because my window of opportunity, especially with my girls, because I'm a parent, it's small. My oldest, I have 3 summers left with her. She's 15 years old. So it's just like, I don't want to look back and think, darn it, like I wish I would have carved out more time to be with my girls, because I was too busy making money. So it's like now it's like I'm going to do what's going to be that balance. And if I make a lot of money in the process, that's a blessing. But if not, it's worth the sacrifice.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like I said, it's something that I've struggled with. I'm getting better. I don't know if my wife would tell anyone that, but I feel like I'm getting better. So the idea of getting licenses to really just sell your own flips, but you had mentioned that, you really kind of took off running with the real estate sales. Was that because people just saw what you guys were doing with the flips, and you were talking about it, posting about it? Can you dive into kind of when did you make that shift of, hey, I'm probably going to start selling houses now outside of the ones that we're doing?
Well, when I got licensed, obviously I posted about that on social media. And then too, like anytime I was in a space, whether I'm at a soccer practice, basketball, You know, my kids are like my money makers, not trying to be funny, but you be honest, you sit on a sideline for an hour, a couple times a week at a soccer game or at a basketball game. You know, people start to talk to you. They're talking about real estate. I'm someone that's very social, which honestly has turned out to be a blessing. I'm learning in real estate because it's a people business.
Yeah.
Literally, if we're not helping anybody, we don't make any money. And so to me, those natural relationships that I had already formed ended up being monetizing them when I got into real estate. So whether if I was helping out someone's coworker or I helped them directly, and then once I started selling a few, then it became, hey, Tierra's great, she's this and that. Now I'm on a referral basis. So I think the first month when I was licensed, between me and my husband's properties and just working with, you know, the general public, I think I might have did like 4 or 5 deals like within like a month or two.
Wow.
I barely know how to write a purchase contract, but here I am, balls to the wall. Got like 2 listings. I'm taking buyers out. I'm figuring it all out. And it was good. So that year between March and December, I think I did 16 deals. Which to me, I don't know. I felt like that was a lot from
Heck
not trying
yeah.
to work. So
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I think that's a skill. You know, you mentioned that you're a social person, but I think it's a skill of, you know, being able to have a conversation and then finding an angle. I shouldn't say finding an angle, but bringing up real estate in some way, right? You know, I don't care who it is, whether there's someone that's renting or someone that owns. Most people want to know what's going on in the real estate world.
yeah, or
Um,
they would see our before and after photos that I would post. I'm pretty good about sharing that. What I've learned too is people like a good balance. Like no one wants to follow you on social media and you're throwing up real estate every day. Like no one cares that much. But I think people care more about the person that I am. I've had so many people like, and it's social media. Like I don't base my life off of this by any means, but it's important to see how people perceive you.
yep.
So several people like, oh, you're such a good mom. Like, oh, how do you manage real estate and do all these things? Like they see me as a person as well as the professional. And a
Yeah.
lot of times people, they care more about who you are as a person as well as the person that's going to take care of them. So I've learned that people need to marry those two together. And then when you're in those, like I said, those social circles, it's not me. Like, again, I'm not throwing it up. If they bring
Right.
it up to me, I talk about it, or I try to be the expert when something is brought about. Like, oh, I see the market's this and that. Well, I'm gonna jump in with my 2 cents every time, and let them know, like, yo, by the way. So
I saw the light bulb go on when you snapped the fingers and made that switch. You
yeah,
have this, you had the skill. Like it's just natural.
yeah.
When did you know that this was going to be a career that you wanted to go after? Was it right away?
Well, shoot, I didn't really have time to process it. So I think, like I said, that first year, once I saw that I could do it, I'm like, I'm good at this on accident. Like, you know, I can only imagine how good I'll be at it on purpose. So even to this day, so now what I'm 6 years in, we have another daughter. My youngest will be 3 next month. Again, there's no daycare involved. I'm the daycare. I'm the chauffeur for all my kids. I'm picking them up from school midday, all those things. And I'm like, how am I selling 10 plus million a year and literally I'm not, you know, it's almost like I'm a stay at home mom and a work from home mom all at one time.
Yeah.
And there's some days I don't really know how I do it, but it's like, here I am making it
I have
work.
I have 0 kids, and I don't know how anyone in real estate that has kids does it. I have no clue. Like,
Listen.
I can barely take care of myself and my own schedule.
I know. And then you add a kid. My oldest is like, I don't know, she's one heck of an athlete. So we're constantly traveling for sports and doing stuff and we make it work.
How do you manage the, expectations with your clients around that? I
You
mean,
know,
because I think agents struggle with that too, right? It's
yeah, they do. So I just told a friend this the other day. I said, you know what? as much as people pretend like they care about your personal life, they really don't. They don't want to hear about how your kids have to be at soccer practice or you have to go to Cincinnati for a tournament or things like that. So I don't share those things unless it's something that is last minute. If someone is like, Tierra, I need you to go take me to see this house today at 6. I can't literally, like, I have to be somewhere. So it's just I set those expectations in the beginning, like, hey, if you message me at 9 o'clock in the morning, with the house, I can probably get you in that evening, just because there's turnaround time for everybody. I also have
Right.
multiple clients, but for the most part, I'm not saying, "Hey, I'm going to be out of town this weekend at a tournament." They're going to be like, "I don't want to deal with you. Like, I need someone who's going to be working for me 24/7." So I set the presence early that, hey, I do have agents that help me show houses. It's the way that I can be the most efficient for you as well as my other clients. Whether I'm out of town with my kids or I'm here, if I have 3 clients wanting to go see houses at the same time on the weekend, I can't do it anyways. So there's an agent at our brokerage that all they do is show homes for a fee. So I utilize them as well as utilizing people on my team. But I would say for the most part, as busy as I am in my personal life, I don't really run into that problem. It just really works itself out. And
Yeah.
that's all I can really say. It's rough.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I've been in it for 11 years, and teach and coach a lot of agents, and that initial expectation conversation of like, hey, here's how I run my business. Here's kind of how things are going to operate. I would always use, hey, I have an appointment, even if it's personal time. Hey, I got an appointment during the
Absolutely.
time.
It's an appointment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I was just curious on that. When did you decide that it was time to build a team?
Well, I would say last year, because it was 2021 when I brought on Alex Crockett. Um, it just was like, here's the thing. I think last year I might have did 35 closings, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. So it's to the point that my business is referral basis only. Like, I don't pay for leads, which is it's an awesome thing. It's a blessing. But it's like if someone say referring a coworker or things like that, if it's not a direct referral and I feel like my plate is full at that time, I think, hey, this could be beneficial for someone to help on the buy side. Sellers, I'm always going to sell those houses. I feel like time management wise, I can do more with that. I'm not in my
Yeah.
car driving around, but I noticed that when, like, I'm out a couple nights a week showing houses, I'm like, okay, my plate's getting full. This is now kind of veering off to the left from that initial why that I talked about. And if
Yeah.
it's there, and I feel like too, it's a quality thing for me. I want to make sure my quality of work remains the same. If I feel like I'm shortcutting someone because I'm too busy, it's not fair to them. So at that point, it makes more sense for me to get a percentage of someone on my team sell for bringing them that qualified lead than it is for me to service someone at 25% of me.
Yeah.
So I like to do that to make sure that they're getting that well-rounded service and they're not feeling like corners are being cut.
That's awesome. I try to tell people, that are high producing, high performers, when you get to, depending on the breakdown of buy side versus list side and, what your business looks like. But when you're getting to doing, 30 plus buy side deals, really even 20 plus buy side deals, I mean, you're always in the
Oh,
car, just driving around.
and I will.
And
This is, not to interrupt you, but I just think this is important too, that you have to determine in the beginning because you might end up blown up overnight and then you haven't had time to process it like how I did. You have to know that you don't have to make all the money. That sounds silly to some people, but the best people, they monetize their time in a way that their quality of life isn't sacrificed for money.
yeah,
I'm not driven by a dollar, which I think that's a blessing for me because not everyone sees it. I mean, I'll tell you, with real estate, I could be out here grinding, making even more than what I currently
yeah,
make, but I look at the quality of life I want to have. So to me, it's like, hey, I would rather take a portion of that sale, have more time with my family or have more time with the clients that I'm working with so they can refer me to other people because I'm not working like a dog. And then, I'm making less, but I'm getting more somewhere else.
yeah.
And it has
I
to make
use Yeah, and I used to always ask agents, what's your transaction goal? What's your income goal? And now it's more of like, what's the quality of life that you want to live? right? So
Yeah, say that. Yeah.
like for me, even like when I was actually selling, I never wanted to sell 40, 50, 60 homes a year. To me, it was I wanted a certain number of transactions that produced a certain number of income that would allow me to travel 4 to 6 times a year, whether that was to a conference, whether that was a weekend getaway, whether that was a week getaway. And you just make sacrifices along the way, right? Maybe you didn't have the big house, maybe you didn't have the fancy car, maybe, and it's the quality of life. Because I've over the years I've found that most people won't go after the transaction number, most people won't go after the income number, but if they paint the picture of what do they want their life to be, the lifestyle that they want to live, they'll go towards that.
Mhm.
And to your point, when I'm talking to those agents that are getting to that 30, 35, 40 transactions per year, it's, hey, I know you could potentially make this $9,000 check,
Yeah.
but it may take you 4 months to do it, and it may take you 40 hours to do it. Or you could have a 5-minute phone call with a referral client or a lead and say, hey, I have Sally Smith on my team that is super qualified. I'm going to just hand you off to her, hand you off to them, and they're going to take it and run with it. I'm going to be behind the scenes. And now I'm going to get, depending if you're a team lead or just giving out a referral, 30, 50, 60% or whatever for a 10 to 15-minute phone call.
Yeah.
And that's, and now you're talking about scale, right?
Yeah.
One person can only do a certain amount, but when you don't have to take every single penny of that dollar, now you can scale.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I want to kind of start looking into the future now. So you got your team, that's building. Um, Is it a goal for you to grow even larger, or you just kinda wanna stay small?
I think that small is good for me right now. Like I said, I think again with the quantity, you might lose quality. So I feel like let me pour into these two people that I have currently, get them solid, and if, after that, cool. Maybe someone else, but at the same time too, like there's expectations as a team leader. Like right now, we're in a developmental stage. I'm dealing with someone that was licensed last year and someone that was licensed last month. So
Yeah,
it's just like the focus needs to be on getting you comfortable enough that you can have a conversation with a stranger that's a cold call, or that you're able to go take people out and say the right things and make some really good informed decisions. So I would say, as of right now, that's definitely not something I'm thinking about, but I also don't know what the future holds as of right now.
no, it's I can already tell just how you are that you're probably going to attract a lot of people that wanna come and work with you. So what's a big, goal or accomplishment that you're looking to do in the next 12 months?
I say the next 12 months, I would like to purchase another rental. We just purchased our first rental, which is funny because we flip houses, right? Which,
I have a theory on that, so we can get into that.
yeah, here's me like, let's make 20 or 30,000 right now instead of, I don't know, 15 years from now. But we, for tax purposes, we need to hold on to something because Uncle Sam's taking our money. So we just purchased our first one in Hilliard 2 months ago. That's rented out currently. I would like to purchase another one before year's end. So that I would say that'd be my short-term goal. I know you also on my little questionnaire asked about 5 years. And I had to really think about this because again, I'm like, I'm in survival mode right now. All I can think about is I've got to get my 3-year-old to kindergarten before I can even think about anything. I'm like, I have limited time here. Um,
Uh,
but I would say for that, I was really thinking about it. Like, I would like to cross over into luxury real estate. Um, Last week, I closed my first deal at 1.24 million. So I'm
nice.
like, hey, if I can cross over into this, I'm always about how can I do less? How
Yeah,
can I make more by doing less? So,
yeah,
and I would
yeah.
tell you, working at that price point, you actually work harder. Like I work hard, period. But there's something about when you add a couple zeros after somebody's house that it's like, yo, what's going who's coming here. So I am mindful of that. But I would say that would be kind of fun just because it would be a new challenge for me.
Yeah.
Um, so that's probably what I'm looking to accomplish in 5 years, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the whole rental thing, it's funny because I believe it's a personality.
Yeah.
Um, for me, rentals do not excite me at all.
No.
Making the 300, 200, $400 a month, whatever it may be, 500, that doesn't sound exciting to me. But you throw a flip opportunity, or um, I'm starting to look at the Airbnbs, because it
Yeah.
is a little bit more high risk, high reward, but you still kind of get that long term,
Yeah.
hopefully appreciation. But to me, it's just like a personality. I always tell my clients that, like, hey, you want to get into real estate investing? What do you prefer?
Yeah.
And yeah, we don't have a rental yet, mainly because it just doesn't excite me. I'm just not
No.
there yet.
It didn't excite us either. Again, it was like a tax thing. I thought we started thinking like, oh, that makes sense for write-off purposes. But
Yeah,
oh, I mean, I'm someone's landlord now, but that's never excited me. Like even now on my phone, we're only a couple weeks in and I'm already getting texts. I'm like, I have time for this. But it doesn't make sense to have a property manager at the current moment.
yeah,
Oof, like, but Airbnbs is something that was an item that I wanted to flirt with as well. I do have a couple friends that own a few. It does seem pretty good, especially in Columbus. It's something you want to tap into before they start putting restrictions on us, like in other states. So,
yeah, yeah. Our first one's in Texas, so we'll see how that goes.
okay.
But so 5 years is to really, work smarter, right? Not harder. And, I think it's the natural progression. I know some people view teams a certain way. But, again, life by design, right? And
Yeah,
one of the easiest things for you to kind of give up would be the buy side business, and build
yeah,
out the team around that. And now you're focusing on the listings, the high end, whatever the case may be. Like for me right now, I'm really thinking of how can I completely get rid of buy side business? The only buy side business I would ever do would be new builds. Again,
yeah.
time invested, right?
Mhm.
And only focus on any listings that come my way. So, and then again, it's scale, right? Now you have more time to kind of either spend time with family, grow the business, focus on the investment side. And I saw you just did a flip that you never even stepped into, right?
Yeah. So, that's honestly probably one of five that I have not. We did one in Dayton. I never saw it. I couldn't. I mean, it sounded amazing. It's to the point even our contractor knows us. Like he picked out everything for the house. He's probably like, look, they want this color. They want because here's the thing. I'm not. There's no HGTV here. I don't need to go and make every house have certain things. There's no personality. We don't want to put too much personality into it. So
Yeah,
we have probably like three standard designs that we use. Depending on what neighborhood, and we might add a couple extra, but for the most part, we're going to do baseline items, just what's going to get people in the door that's pretty neutral.
yeah,
Um, and so with that being said, I mean, I do look at pictures of the homes, but my husband is more feet on the ground for some of these houses. I do more of the comps and making sure we're priced out well. We do a lot of wholesale purchases. Some wholesalers don't have a grip on pricing, so we like to double check that on the realtor side.
yeah.
But as far as like designing and things like that, like we already have that down to a science. So I give my input on it. We pick things from a distance. And if I have time, I get over there. It is nice to walk it though, and for reference calls. If someone calls me like, hey, what about this down here? And I'm like, oh my God, I get it. So I don't, that's not something that I lean on or pride
Yeah,
myself on.
right, right.
But if it's a quick turnaround and I don't have time to get in there, my husband's been in there. I feel like that's the closest thing to me being there myself. I go off of that and work from there.
Have you guys ever looked into house hacking new builds? I call it house hacking new builds, but investing in new builds and flipping them.
Yeah, so we thought about that, especially 2 years ago for sure.
Yeah,
I had a couple houses that I wish I would have bought. It was Reynoldsburg address, but Pickerington schools. And I'm like, darn it, had I bought one, I know for a fact I could have sold that. Probably
yeah,
could have put a sign in the yard day one of it closing and would have made a ton of money. But Those are a little bit higher. Like we try to stay under 300 if we're going to do a flip as far as like purchasing it. On the buy side, we like to be under 300.
Yeah.
I'm not really comfortable going over that mark. I mean, if
It's
it's there, let's do it. But you have to take into account too, like there's going to be more quality that goes into that flip. The expectation of materials they're going to change. So,
yeah.
it's worth it. It just has to be the right house.
Yeah, no, we're doing one right now, and over the last 2 years, it's been great for the people that have been doing it. Now we'll see what happens with the way interest rates have been going, and you're speculating for a longer length of time, which most investors don't like. But
No.
if you can get in the first, second, third phase, that builder is going to artificially inflate your value for you, especially over the last 2 years. Now we'll see what happens. I think in Columbus will be a little bit. We'll be okay with intel and everything that's coming
Absolutely.
in. But being strategic with that. I mean, my mentor, my team lead, he's on his fourth one, of doing it. Building the spec. So basically, you're building to compete against the builder.
Yeah.
Um, and over the 12 months that it's taking them now to build every month, I mean, he got in first phase, we got in second phase, and they already increased 10 grand.
Oh yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so, so we're doing a little bit of that right now, and it's just an interesting, just a different way of. And here's the best part: you're putting typically 5% down, 7% down, 3% down to even get the process started, and the rest doesn't even do till closing.
Yeah. And
So
you're gonna get 3% of that back when you close on the buy side. So I mean you're basically using your commission to purchase the property up front.
100%. And hey, I already told my wife if things go sideways, we might be moving into it, and then I'm
Well,
buying
might
it
have to
for
live there, but
I'm buying it for 5%,
exactly.
getting it for only two. But no, Tiara, I know we're up against it. I know you have some things, and I always finish with this one question: if you could give our audience, one piece of advice that either you wish you had or that you just think super important for either someone getting into the business or someone that is looking to kind of take that next step in their real estate career, what would that be?
I think most importantly, tap into your sphere. Utilize the people around you that already know you, that have that comfort level with you. It's definitely a lot easier to talk to someone where there's a common interest already there versus a cold call that they don't know you from Adam. Um, and always be the expert in the room. I mean, know what you're talking about, but you know what I mean. If they're going to bring stuff up, I mean, put your 2 cents out there. People care about that. It has done a lot for me. Also, I guess I would say too, don't take yourself too seriously. I struggle with people who do. I just don't think that much. I mean, I think of myself highly, but not to the point where, I'm going to get beyond myself. I think it's really important in this business to remain humble. Um, you just never know where your next sale is going to come from. You might be riding a high horse for 2 years straight and then hit a low season. So it's just really important that, like I said, remain humble, know how to invest your money too. Like real estate's one of we sell it. It's so funny. Like me, I was an investor before I was a realtor. So I already saw that part of it. But I think a lot of realtors need to tap into that. Learn your numbers, talk to another agent such as myself that does this, and really just see how you can make your money make money. Um, and I don't know. I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. And then in your time, that's probably the last thing I would leave with. I'm still learning it myself, but really setting a time where you shut things down. I learned from an agent a long time ago, like, hey, like pretty much nothing's happening after 7 o'clock unless you're in the process of writing an offer.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get so good with putting that phone on do not disturb because you can work yourself into the middle of the night if you want to. So just really learn how to disconnect.
100%. I agree with you. I had someone text me last night at 9:50. I was up. I was there. I was this close to
This close.
responding, and I didn't. And it was because of that. What's the point of me? What's the difference between 9:50 p.m. or
9
9 a.m.?
a.m. Yeah.
And like you said, unless you're writing an offer, things can wait. And I've learned that over the years. It's just like, man, I always tell people if it's important, shoot me a text. and then I'll be able to tell, if it's actually urgent or not, you know?
Exactly. And not only that too, like I'm a task checker. I'm someone that I hate seeing a text message sit there. So it can be very hard for me. But it's
Yeah,
like, you know what? Nothing that I'm gonna say right now is gonna change between now and tomorrow.
yeah,
Especially if you text me too.
yeah.
So
Well, Tiara, thank you so much for coming on. Those that are watching, her Instagram handle has been down at the bottom of the screen. But Tiara, for the best way for them to reach out to you on Instagram, what's your handle?
Tierra Marie underscore. You can also text me 614-401-2706.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your
Pleasure.
time today. I know
Thank
you're
you for
busy
the
with
opportunity.
the business, you're busy with the kids and everything else that you got going on. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.